Hello, my darling true crime angels. My name is Trisha Griffith. I am thrilled to tell you that I'm the manager of Websleuths.com. That's the very best true crime discussion forum in the universe. You like talking true crime? You got to go to Websleuths.com. We have thousands and thousands of discussion threads on the latest true crime, on cold cases, on really cold cases. It's a fascinating place. And one of the best parts about Websleuths.com, you don't have to worry about trolls. If you put up, I'll say, your theory, nobody's going to come down on you and call you names and big drama happening all the time. No, no. All of that is gone from Websleuths. Why? Because we have the best moderators in the world. So check it out, www.websleuths.com. Okay. Unfortunately, Insightful One is not here tonight. She had to put her kitty to sleep. He had been quite sick for some time, and it was her son's cat, since he's had it since he was a little kid. And God, it's so awful. We know, all of us know, how terrible that is to have to put down one of your pets. It's just heartbreaking. So she knows our hearts and love are with her, and I hope she takes as much time as she needs before she comes back. Okay, tonight we got lots to talk about. First of all, good news. Y'all remember seeing that horrible picture of that sweet little dog tied to a fence waiting for Hurricane Milton to show up? Yeah, they found the owner. They arrested the owner. Yes! Even Governor DeSantis in Florida got so mad at anybody that would do that. The person that did that to that dog, it was horrible. We'll have just a quick update about what's going on in the Delphi trial, the Richard Allen trial. The jury, ready to go. They will actually start hearing opening arguments on Friday. And tonight we have, oh my gosh, you guys are going to love this. We had our good friend Jim Rathmann here. Now, I just had my big, huge notebook. Where'd it go? Here it is. Jim Rathmann. Now, he's the former Secret Service agent, former homicide detective, and now he works in the private industry, if you will. He's an amazing private investigator. Okay, so anyway, he is actually an investigative consultant. Well, there's this guy. He's a serial killer, a Swedish serial killer named Peter Mang. And he started targeting in the early part of the 2000s in Sweden. He started shooting people of color just out of the blue. Now, here in the U.S., we have shootings every day. Let's face it, we're desensitized to it. Can you imagine, though, in Sweden, where they don't have guns or anything, and somebody is just shooting people with a darker skin color? Yeah, it was quite a panic. Well, they caught him, all right, charged him. He's in prison for life. But then he writes this song with clues to other murders. And it has been made into a 3-part series. Okay, and it's called, let me get it, good heaven's sakes, Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. And where I got it was, you go to Amazon Prime, you put that in, Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer, and they give you an option to join Viaplay. They give you a 7-day free trial, and it's great. Viaplay is great, and you can watch it there. So, but we're fortunate enough tonight, if I can spit it out, to have Jim Rathmann and the director, John Mork, on as well. And this is a great conversation, everybody. We taped it earlier today with Insightful One. So without further ado, my sweets, let me grab it here. Is this it? This is it, yes. Now, here's the scary part. Yeah, it's scary talking about a serial killer, but what's scarier is how brightly you can see my face, because I have a window here that I don't have like a shade on. And I always do this at night, so I never have to worry about it. But it's like this big, harsh light on my face, and it is truly frightening. But it is Halloween season, after all, so I think we'll be okay. Okay, everybody. And I'll be putting up the contact information for Jim Rathmann, all of his social media. I did put up his website, okay? and it's got all of his social media there, but we'll put it all in the description for you. So without further ado, my sweet darling angels, Under the Radar with the amazing Jim Rathmann and John Mork. Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. Are you ready? I think you are. Here we go. Live, everybody. Hey, thank you very, very much for joining us. We have Jim Rathmann, and our Websleuths YouTube subscribers will recognize Jim. He's been on our live stream many times. Former Secret Service, former homicide detective, and now as an investigative consultant. And of course, you can check out his website at jimrathmannthecompany.com. Jim Rathmann, yeah, jimrathmannthecompany.com. And we'll put all of these links up in the description. Jim, how are you today?
Doing all right. How are you?
We are great. Thank you very much. And joining us is a new guest, John Mork. John Mork is a documentary filmmaker and journalist. And John, thank you so much for taking the time out today to join us. We can't thank you enough. This is going to be fascinating.
Thank you for letting me be here. It's going to be fun.
It will be fun. And of course, everybody recognizes Stacy, also known as Insightful One. How are you doing this morning, my dear?
I'm doing great.
Good. Okay. We're going to get right to it. Now, for quite some time, Jim, you've been teasing us about this amazing documentary that you were involved with, and you let us know a little bit at a time. And when we finally found out what it was, it sounds like one of the greatest screenplays ever written. It sounds fantastic, but it's a real story, and it's the real story of a serial killer, a Swedish, serial killer named Peter Mang. And he is in prison now. This is a 3-part documentary, and we'll get to where you can watch it and such here in just a moment. But first, I don't know how you two could have hooked up to begin to figure out what was going on, because Peter Mang was in Florida at one point. Jim, that's where you are. So Jim, why don't you start this out and tell us how this began?
Yeah, so I ended up getting a phone call. It was the wonderful John Mork that you see here on the screen. He reached out to me many years ago and was talking to me about basically what had happened. You know, he was given information from a clinical psychologist in regards to a serial killer that was convicted in Sweden and who had wrote these songs and lyrics that left clues for homicides, all dating back or leading back to Florida. So he reached out to me and wanted to know if this was something I would be interested in pursuing with him, and obviously for television as well. And you know, it's amazing to be sought after, especially coming from another country, right, to help out with a case or to see what we can do. But very rarely does the actual show and all the content go back to where you grew up. And for me, a lot of this took place in Boca Raton, Florida, and I grew up literally in the heart of where the majority of this takes place. So I immediately jumped on board. It's been a great thing. John has become a great friend of mine over the last few years, and it's really been amazing.
And John, how did you find Jim Rathmann? I mean, you picked the best. Trust me, you got the best. You got the cream of the crop. But how did you find him?
It was through a friend of a friend who recommended Jim, and told pretty much the thing that what you told me about him, that he was great. And we had this big problem because we know a lot about Peter here in Sweden, but we had this black hole in Florida. And when we got the information that Jim was from Boca, it was a done deal. I really wanted his help, and it was so kind to really help us from the start.
He's that type of guy. He will help. He's helped so many people that we know, and I'm sure he's helped many others that we have no idea about, because he's not the type of guy to brag about that. But okay, and real quickly, the name of the documentary is Under the Radar: Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. And everybody, the best place to get this would be Amazon Prime. Go to Amazon Prime, search Under the Radar, and then what will come up is a link to Viaplay, and that's where you can watch it. Okay, 3-part series. I mean, come on, it's what we live for. People, is something like this. This serial killer gave clues in songs. It kind of gives me chills to think about, because, like, my God, what a psycho. Okay, sorry, I could get off on a tangent on a serial killer here, but let's just start from the beginning. So you say Peter Mang's, John, started in Florida. How did that happen, and how did he end up in Sweden, or I guess in Florida and then Sweden, and how did this all come together?
I guess the theory we bring to everybody in this documentary is that here in Sweden, we know that he killed people for a whole decade, but we don't know why he started, and that comes very clear when we backtrack what he'd done in Florida, because he moved to Florida like in 1997, and just when he comes back from Florida, we know for a fact that he's killing people here in Sweden, but he goes back and forward to Florida. So with the clues we had from the song, we saw it not impossible that he could have committed murders in Florida as well.
And again, we're not going to get into every bit of the story here. There's way too much. And trust me, we're just going to barely touch on it. That's why you've got to watch the whole 3 parts to get an understanding of just what this guy did. So he's in Florida, he goes to Sweden, and they figure out he's a serial killer. How did that happen? How did he come under the scrutiny of the police?
It was numerous shooting in a city called Malmö, and he tried to start like a race war. Nowadays, yeah. A lone wolf is very known tactics, but back then nobody really had heard about it. So he attacked different people in the city to make a turbulence in the city. So the police would think that it was this gang, and this gang would think that it was the other gang, and everybody was not. But by then, nobody was connecting the dots that it was one shooter who did all the shootings.
That must have been terrifying, because here in the U.S.,
when they arrested him, they found his apartment just filled with strange guns and evidence of murders going back 10 years.
And they believe this started what, in 2009, 2010?
It was earlier, 2001, I think.
Oh wow! But I mean, and Jim, you'll attest to this. Mm-hmm. How many shootings do we have in the U.S. every day? It doesn't.
Too many to count.
Yeah, we don't even think about it. I can imagine what it would do to a town in Sweden to have somebody show up with a gun and start killing people. It must have been absolute terror. Is that a great way to describe it?
Yeah, back then you must understand that nobody really understood that it was one man who did this. So it was so strange. It wasn't until he was arrested people understood what he really had done.
So he was trying to start a race war. He was targeting people with dark skin, immigrants, if you will, just people he
had random people on the street, just shooting them.
I can't, God, that just sounds so terrifying. So here you have this guy doing this, but he's giving you clues in songs. Jim, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, to answer the first part you just asked John about in regards to terrorizing, yeah, it absolutely terrorized everybody in Sweden. People were not wanting to leave their homes, not wanting to go anywhere because they don't no idea where this guy could possibly be at the time. So he terrorized that whole town, the whole country. I mean, it was insane. And as far as the clues he left behind here, it was interesting because he's hinting towards murders that he's committed. He's given you just enough to have an idea of where it possibly could have taken place, but then you have to go and hunt for it. So that's typical of a serial killer. They always think they're the smartest person in the room or the smartest person in existence. You can't, outwit them. I mean, you look at some of the serial killers we've had here in the United States. You had Dennis Rader, BTK, and I always like to use that as an example because he used to like to do the same things and tease the police and leave his BTK signature in various places, but always took something from the victims. And then several years later, he went back teasing them with putting a driver's license that only the killer could have had from a murder from 40 years ago and various things with his little BTK signature that was teasing law enforcement. And I almost feel it's the same thing he was doing here with the songs is I'm going to give, this is his way. It's like his way of putting out some of the information. So internally he's laughing about it, thinking nobody can figure it out. Little did he know he had John hot on his tail, who then included me to start looking at this, and it became quite the chase.
Okay, so let me make sure I've got this straight. He's arrested, and they find these guns again, which for Sweden I'm sure was shocking. They find all these guns. It's one person, but I guess you couldn't connect all the killings to this guy, and so he was teasing you with these songs. Do I have that right?
Yeah. The songs he gave to a psychiatrist in prison when he was so that came just after the trial. From his apartment, it was clues nobody really understood, and he was really good covering his tracks. So he took shells from random people on the shooting range, put him in his drawers, so you couldn't understand what
to mess up the investigation.
Yeah. But what we came over was something wild. We came over his computer, and on his computer we got thousands of pictures from Florida, where he had been, just random pictures everywhere. So that was a really big help when we started to map his life up in Florida, and Jim could find where these pictures were taken and stuff like that.
So, I apologize. I thought I had my phone. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what John said. The pictures were very helpful because it allowed us to kind of piece together from the diary that we had, the little bit of information we had on his trips to Florida, being able to pinpoint locations, where he went, where his travels were, and then relating that to the song. He kind of helped us put the clues together. I think without the photos, it would have been very difficult to try to do. But that definitely helped us at least cover where it was that he went, at least within his last couple of visits to the United States.
Okay, so he comes to the United States, he comes to Florida, he takes pictures, and you find them on his computer. Did he kill anybody in Florida? Do we know?
Well, that's what he admits to in his songs. There was a couple of murders within that. There's also some very high-profile homicides that took place during the times of his visit. And the reason for his visits is because his father lived in Boca Raton, Florida. So that's where he would frequent, would be Boca Raton. What a lot of people don't understand, and it comes about within the show, and it's my belief, and this is my opinion, but I feel the father very much knows what Peter was up to and had always been up to. A reason for that is that Peter called him and confided in him after he did his first killings in Sweden. And it wasn't like the father picked up the phone and called police or notified anybody. It was almost like it's okay. But then he went on to help his son later on with sending over optic scopes for firearms, laser dots, different things. Wow. So he was helping him, in my opinion, with the stuff that he needed in Sweden, which eventually could be used. But in addition to that, when it comes to Florida, I fully believe that the father knows exactly what he was up to and what he was doing, just given the fact that he knew what he was doing in Sweden. Again, that's my opinion. But
so
I don't think it's too far-fetched.
It doesn't sound too far-fetched at all. If he was helping him purchase things, and his son was confessing to him. Yeah, he knows a heck of a lot more than he's admitting. That's true, and there's nothing, unfortunately, I'm sure that anybody can do about it, law enforcement wise. We always like to talk about why a person becomes a monster. And John, I'll start with you. In your research of Peter Mang's, what did you find out about his early life that would lead him to do something so bizarre?
Something happens when he comes to Florida, that's for certain. You know, he's going to these gun ranges and he meets up with radical people, and he gets a good bunch of influence of his father. His father is some kind of idol for him, and he changes a lot because, you know, he's got long hair, he's a musician, he's even a vegetarian when he comes to Florida. And then just in a couple of years, he hates immigrants and he wants to murder people. And
And so his father was a racist.
He had a complete change in demeanor. I mean, like what John says, when he came over here, he was long haired, kind of hippie-ish, like, you know, vegetarian, music, all that. And then he leaves, you know, shaved head with all these ideas of not liking, whether it be immigrants from other countries or, you know, just basically a race war, so to speak. He had his reasons for hate. He hated a lot of people, and that was his motive, was just that. So he had targeted people from other countries, targeted people of ethnicity, interracial relationships, drug dealers. You know, he had a sister that died of drug overdose. So all these things are things that he hated, and that's what he wanted to bring on. And so much so that even his father thought, wow, you should have a statue put up of you after all of this. Like,
oh my God.
Correct, John?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like he was trying to impress his dad too. Dad's obviously a big racist, and he's saying, "Look at me, Daddy. Look at your son. The things I've been able to do." Makes me so angry. What about his mother? What about his early life? Do we know anything?
I talked to his mother, but I think she's the good part of the family. She divorced Rudolph, the father, and shouldn't be blamed in any way, I guess.
Oh, it must be heartbreaking for her. I can't imagine having a child turn out like this. John, you're a documentary filmmaker, a journalist, and I'm sure when he was arrested, you were just fascinated. How in the world did you get to him to talk to him about this and to find out about the song? How did that happen?
In the beginning, he had only one friend, really, and it was this psychiatrist in prison. And it was to this psychiatrist who Peter gave the song. And she contacted me, and we talked about doing a documentary about it. And she was going to confront Peter, but she died in cancer. So
you took over.
The whole story was down for like 1 year or something. Then I picked it up again and thought that how long can I get with only the song? And if I reach out to Peter and just talk about the song and his life as a musician and his life in Florida, not telling him that I know about the confession.
Right.
Then we started sending letters to each other, and that's how it all started.
That must be very interesting to try and get to befriend a serial killer like that. But don't you think he just loved the attention, John? I mean, he probably was just like, "Hey, look at me. I'm a big guy," not realizing that, you know, his story is going to be unveiled here. He's not going to be able to fool you guys. Do you think he felt like he was in charge here?
I think he thought that he was in charge, and we have said that this all the time, that he wants to get recognition for his murders, but he, just don't want to take responsibility for it, of course. So
Yeah.
he gives you
Right.
the what's that, clues about it all the time. So he still does.
Yeah. It's just so bizarre. So anyway, basically, let's kind of revisit everything. Peter Mangs starts killing people in a small Swedish town, and it's people with darker skin, because he's a racist. He doesn't like immigrants, drug dealers, things like that. He does things to mess up the investigation. He goes to shooting alleys. He takes spent bullet casings, puts them in his apartment. So when the police are there, they don't know where they came from. He does all kinds of weird things like that. It seems he has killed people in Florida as well. And so you're investigating all of this. You get a recommendation for our friend Jim Rathmann to come in and help, because he's written this song. And Jim, when did he write this song, and when did you all first learn about it?
I'm not sure that when he first wrote it. It may have been 2013 or 2014, John, somewhere there. Or was it a little later? Do you remember?
It's about then, as far as we know.
So he writes the song, leaves little clues. For me, when I started reviewing it, it was just some of the areas that he's talking about, some of the things that he's referencing. Boca Raton was referenced, and we know Town Center Mall.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some various things. So basically, you kind of got to go back and look at, well, what homicides that are unsolved took place back in the dates that he was in the United States, and then try to find cases, and then try to, from there, take what it is that he's left in his clues and his visits that we get from the diary or from the photos that could be all around the same time. And so you're working this. I mean, you gotta keep in mind when this came in to us, some of these murders were, at the time we looked at it, at least 13 to 15 years old.
Right.
So we're 13, 15 years late to the game, based on when these, initial clues were left or when the crimes actually happened. So it's just trying to go back and repiece all of that together. So it was a challenge, but it was definitely interesting. But
I think it's in any investigation, if you knew that a serial killer was living in the same block, he would be a prime suspect, right?
Right.
But back then, nobody knew. He was just this Swedish guy.
He was just another guy.
Yeah.
Another face in the crowd.
Really.
Nothing. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Here's what makes it interesting too, like what John's saying. I mean, nobody knew of his existence when he was in and out or anything else. But what's interesting is with the cases that we think we have it narrowed down to, or even if law enforcement is thinking it or not right now, one thing they've never been able to do is link DNA to anybody, and very easily could have been because, well, he's not from the United States. He hasn't been in our penal institution. So if he hasn't been to our prison systems or had to give his DNA on file here in the United States, we can run it all day long. We're not going to pick up on it. Right. So perhaps now that they have a name, they have somebody, now maybe they can get that. And I'm sure they're got to go through Interpol or whatever their channels are. But to try to match that DNA now, because it's my understanding there is a little bit of DNA from one of the cases. So maybe now they'll actually get a hit and we'll be able to see what happens. But it very well could explain why they've never been able to get a hit in all these years, because he don't live in the country.
Exactly. So how many murders was he convicted of?
He was only convicted for 2 murders, but everybody has strong belief that it's a lot more than that. It was like 4 or 5 murder attempts as well, but 2 murders he was convicted. He was convicted for life, so it wasn't like it was. They had a very hard time connecting him to all the murders.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so the Swedish authorities knew that they could get him without a shadow of a doubt on the 2 that they brought him to trial for, which he was convicted of, and his life sentences. They suspect that he's the main suspect for multiple others that they pretty much have them linked to, but they knew we can get them behind bars off the streets immediately on these 2 cases. So they went and got closure for that. And that gives them all the time in the world to continue to investigate the others until they get the burden of proof, if they even choose to bring him up on those charges on the other ones. But ironically enough, none of this has happened since his arrest.
I was going to say, there's probably been no more shootings since he's been arrested, right? It just magically stopped.
Yep.
Well, have you heard, John, of his reaction to this? He, like we talked earlier off screen, he can't watch it, but he has a script. Have you heard his reaction to Peter Mang's reaction to this documentary?
He keeps on giving you mind games, I would say. His first reaction, I think the clearest, is that I don't remember murdering anybody in Florida, but I don't remember being born, but that happened. So
there's another clue.
There's a clue.
And like dangling the carrot.
And he'll probably do that till the day he dies, I would think.
Well, look, at the end of the day, if he wants to be the most infamous serial killer of all time, then, we can surely call every publication, every news agency all around the world that that's what he wants. But come with the right information. You want to tell us what it is, that'd be great. That way these families can get closure, because at the end of the day, there are victims out there and their families have suffered for many years. And it would be great for them to get closure, to know that somebody was brought to justice so they can move on to the next chapter of their lives. So if that's what he wants, if he wants to be the most infamous serial killer ever, then we will contact every media publication and put him on the cover of all of it. But again, we want the answers. We want it to be correct. We want the burden of proof, and we want the families to have closure.
Jim, do you think he did kill in Florida?
Absolutely. I have no doubts. And I think his, so again, my belief, my opinion, but I think the father knows a lot more than what he's ever shared before. When you see the documentary, I think that's going to become quite obvious to a lot of the viewers when they watch it. They're going to see that the father very much is in the knowledge, because John has some very direct conversations with him. John gets a lot of information out of him. And when you watch it, you're going to see that. And I think that's really where, how he's not being held culpable for what's happened in Sweden is beyond me. But I think he holds a lot of keys to what happened in Florida, or anywhere else in the world for that matter.
Well, I hope the U.S. authorities have this dad under, at least on their radar. Do you think they do?
They do. We know that they've talked to him multiple times, but what information they can get so late to the game, I'm not 100% sure. We're trying to do the best we can to work with law enforcement. I know that when we did the show, we went to Boca Raton Police Department. We gave them all the information we had. We did the same thing with the sheriff's office recently, in the recent weeks. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office have asked us if we could put everything we have onto a Google Drive to share with them, which, I know John and I have talked about that. And, some of the information on that Google Drive is going to be in Sweden, so they're going to have to decipher that information. But, we're here to help the best that we can. And, John's intentions are the same as mine, which is, we want to bring families closure. We'd love to be able to figure out exactly what had happened here. And who knows, possibly a season 2 follow-up coming up with this soon, John. I don't know.
So.
But
I hope so.
We're working it.
And John, like Jim said, this isn't over. You are still working this, correct?
Correct. Why stop after 5 years?
When he's dangling carrots constantly in front of you. Maybe he's going to write another song. You never know.
The latest thing I got was a puzzle of I think 2,000 pieces, and it's one piece missing. And it's
that he sent you?
Yeah.
That he sent you. It has 2,000 pieces.
So that's how it does that. And then I will find out maybe a name or something that.
Oh, gentlemen, we have to have a season 2. There's no question. Are you kidding me? Yeah, this guy is going to be good for season 3 and 4. But like you said, if it do what it takes to find out who he killed, so those poor families will know. because you'll always have that hole in your heart not knowing exactly what happened. So
here's the thing with Peter. Peter can continue to play this game. He can continue to do the cat and mouse game and try to toy with John and I, but like setting a puzzle, missing a piece, or lyrics, or these, well, I don't remember being born, but I don't remember killing anybody either, but that happened, right? Leaving those types of things. Here's the problem for him, is that he's behind bars. He's locked up. He can't fix anything at this point. He can continue to leave clues and do this, but there will come a time that we are going to absolutely nail exactly what it is that he's talking about, and he's going to have no way to go back and fix it or cover it up. And John and I are going to completely and utterly expose it. We'll expose it with law enforcement, and we're not going to give up our hunt, but eventually it will meet at some point or another. It has no choice but to meet at a head, and hopefully we're going to be able to bring closure to many families.
I like the fact that he can't do anything to fix it, because I'm sure that's what he was doing all those years, was going around just trying to fix it so they couldn't catch him. He can't do anything now. Stacy, do you have anything that you would like to say? You've watched the video, the documentary. What do you think?
Oh, the documentary is fascinating. And yes, I would love to see a continuation of season 2. It's amazing. And they're right about the description. You start watching it and you're just hooked, immediately.
You binge watch all of them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everybody, I would encourage you, please, to go to Amazon Prime and look up Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. It will pop up and it will give you the option to watch it on Viaplay. And that's how you can watch it. And it is well worth it. We would not tell you this. We would not steer you wrong, my friends. We've been doing this for 5 years and Websleuths.com for over 20. We have lots of documentaries and things that we can talk about. We are very picky. And this one is definitely one you absolutely have to watch. John Mork and Jim Rathmann, gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon. We're waiting for season 2, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
That was earlier today with Jim Rathmann and John Mork talking about the new 3-part documentary series that's on Amazon Prime, and it is Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. He's a racist. He would kill anybody that wasn't white, basically. And he's just, oh, God. And then to hear about this, his name's Peter Mang, to hear about that his father was like, good work, son, yay. God almighty, I can't. So go to Amazon Prime, like I said there, and it will pop it. Look up, what am I trying to say here? Under the Radar, Secrets of a Swedish Serial Killer. And then Viaplay will pop up, and that's how you can watch it. Viaplay is a streaming service for foreign documentaries and such, but they give you a 7-day free trial. Stacy just loves it. These foreign documentaries, they have, closed captions, so you can, what they're saying, and they're really, really interesting. If you just joined us, Stacy is not here tonight. She had to put her cat to sleep and obviously is very upset. So, and we certainly all understand that. And we love and miss you, Stacy. We are with you, my darling. Okay, speaking of animals, well, before we get to the story of the dog that was tied to a fence right before Hurricane Milton came in, I've got good news on that. But before that, we talk about this every night, and I hope people are understanding about DNA Solves. They are truly an amazing organization. The men and women at DNA Solves, the scientists, the researchers, they dedicate their lives to finding the families of the bodies that have not been identified. Think about it. Your loved one just goes out one day and never comes home, and you have no idea what happened. Well, your loved one could be in a morgue in a different state, and you have no idea. Well, this is what these wonderful men and women at DNA Solves do. They take the They have it's the high-tech technology. I don't think any other lab has it like DNA Solves. And they have the top-notch researchers, but it costs money. Now, we don't have ads here. You don't hear me saying, yeah, I need money to pay my bills. I don't do that anymore. Thank goodness. So what we ask you to do is, if you can at all possible, donate to DNA Solves, subscribe to DNA Solves, and make a monthly donation, because each one of just the start of the DNA testing for one of these remains, $7,500. That's just the beginning. So the link is at the top of chat. I will put it in here now. If you enjoy the fact that I'm not whining anymore about helping me pay the bills, then if you could see it in your heart to make a monthly donation to DNA Solves, and it goes to such a great organization, and you really, really will be helping those families get the answers that they deserve, that they've been waiting so long for. Okay, good news here. Hang on. I've got a mosquito in here that's trying to kill me. It's throwing me off. That's why I keep stopping in the middle of a sentence, because it goes right at my eyeball. So I apologize for that. It'll probably get me before the night's over. What can I say? Okay, here's the deal, everybody. There has been a man charged with cruelty. He's the guy that owned the dog that was tied to a fence on I-75. This was ahead of the Milton hurricane. He's been charged with felony animal cruelty. Hang on here. I want to play you this video, okay? So hang on. Oh, stop video. Stop. Let me get it back here. And then I'll read you the story. So hang tight here. And this comes from 11 Alive. So here we go. Well, now what the heck?
By just hours before the storm made landfall. Just a few hours ago, Governor Ron DeSantis and State Attorney Susie Lopez announced investigators have now found the dog's owner and is expected to charge him.
This defendant will be charged with aggravated animal cruelty. That's a third-degree felony punishable by up to 5 years in the Florida State Prison for what he did to Trooper.
The dog's name is now Trooper. Troopers found the dog tied to a fence along the interstate near Bruce B. Downs Boulevard. They say his owner admitted that he left Trooper there because he couldn't find anyone to care for him as he evacuated to Georgia. Good news is that Trooper is now safe. He's in foster care. And as we speak, he is being cared for in Leon County.
Oh, my God. I mean, I don't know what in the world that guy was thinking. What in the hell was he thinking? Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. I can't even read that. The verbaler. Yes, we need to start a list for those who should not be allowed to own animals based on their mistreatment. Absolutely. And it should be like a nationwide bank, so other states can check it out before they adopt any dogs out. But, I knew that's what this guy would say, that I didn't have anyone to take him. I didn't know what to do. Oh, my God. I go to a police station, walk in, hand it to the cops, do something, go to a fire station. Don't tie your dog up to a fence post when there is the biggest hurricane of the season coming in, for God's sakes. So, oh, my God. Let's see. Nana Lana. Oh, you know a little bit more here. Nana says, this creep had the nerve to go look for the dog at a pound 2 days later. Pretty sure people told him he was in deep trouble. Well, I believe that. He probably thought, oh, somebody took him and probably protected him. Oh, yeah, I'll see if I can get him back. Oh, you guys, this just makes me nuts. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. So anyway, Red Like Wine again. I don't know how old he is. I don't know much about him, but yeah, he's going to be in big, big trouble. So yeah, the dog is in foster care, and I have a feeling that dog's going to have a big line of people wanting to adopt him. So let's see. Granny Whisperer says, does anyone know if Friday is the first day of the Delphi murder trial? Trisha, are you going to cover it? Yes, Friday is the first day. That is opening statements. They have the jury, but they are so tight in this trial there's no cameras, there's no audio, there is nothing. We are going to rely on two wonderful people that will be there, and that is lawyer Melissa and Hidden True Crime. Lauren, wait, I'm sorry. I'm getting this. You guys, I apologize. It's kind of been a rough day. It is going to be Lauren Matthias from Hidden True Crime, okay? And the other one is, hang on here. Let me grab this really quickly. Sorry, guys. I had her name written down, and now I've lost it. She's the lawyer that blonde hair. She's she's great. Lawyer Lee, thank you. Why did I say Lawyer Melissa? Lawyer Lee is going to be, well, hopefully in the courtroom, as well as Lauren Matthias from Hidden True Crime. We're going to rely on these two ladies to give us the reports of what's going on in the trial, which starts on Friday. Now, the defense has had a blow because, as we talked about this earlier, one of their witnesses has been arrested. Nothing to do with this crime, but hang on, I've got the story here. Just a minute. Here it is. We'll just let WTHR tell you this story, my darlings. Hang on. So I don't know how this is going to affect the defense's case, but we'll see. It says possible key defense witness in Delphi has been arrested. So here we go. This is WTHR.
Possible key witness for the defense is facing his own legal troubles. Todd Click is a former Rushville police officer. He was part of the Delphi investigation.
And now he's facing felony misconduct charges related to his work as a Department of Child Services case manager. Investigators say he lied about visiting victims and families and forged signatures on paperwork. Now, in the Delphi case, Click has repeatedly said he and two other investigators strongly believed at least 3 people were involved in the murders.
It's unclear what, if any, new impact that this new case is going to have on the defense plans as they count down to the trial. We'll keep you updated.
Okay, and he was arrested for, they're alleging falsifying like CPS papers, claiming that he went to visit families and he didn't, that type of thing. So, yeah, now this witness, pretty adamant that there were more people involved, and I think he might even be in the Odinist camp. So Lawyer Lee was talking about it earlier, and I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Again, it's so hard to figure this out because you only get little bits and pieces, and you have to know where to go, where to look. It would be nice if Judge Gull would come to the 21st century and broadcast, allow a broadcast of a public trial. This is public. The public's allowed. Again, it just, it really irritates me. This is a case that people have invested their hearts and their time into. And, you know, we deserve to see what's going on. We do. And when I say we, I'm not talking about like YouTubers or anything. I'm just talking about the public, you know. Let us know what's going on. Why are you trying to hide? Just turn on a camera, point it at the wall. You don't have to even look at the witnesses, for God's sakes. You know, let us hear what's going on. So anyway, I don't know. You know, I don't know about you guys. Richard Allen is the one that is on trial for killing Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi in 2017, and it just doesn't sound like the prosecution has a lot. Now, again, we don't know everything, and a lot more is going to come out in trial. Some of the things that we've heard about are all of these confessions that Richard Allen gave all over the place. Anybody he talked to, he'd confess to the killing. Then we find out he's also confessed to killing his family and his grandkids. Well, he didn't kill his family, and he doesn't have grandkids. So there you go. I don't know. The defense put out, what's it called? The Frank's paper, Frank's motion, and it claimed that Odinist had done this, but that I feel that what they were offering was very weak, very weak. And then Keegan Kline is a witness for the defense. Now, Keegan Kline was the guy who made up the fake social media page, or, like Facebook. I think was it Facebook? Anyway, he was talking with Libby, and he showed himself as like 6-pack abs with a sports car, and they were supposed to meet up on the bridge. Well, Keegan Kline is huge. He's totally round, and he claims he went to the bridge in Delphi and just didn't get out to meet him. Now, he is in prison now for child P. He's a disgusting pervert, just a creep beyond belief. But I don't know why he is a witness for the defense. What can he offer? Other than, yeah, it was me that was supposed to meet them on the bridge and I didn't go. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Yeah, he was pretending to be a gorgeous young model. So it was a catfish type situation. But we have a great discussion going on now on websleuths.com, and I'll put that link in the description. Our members there, they take the information that we get, and boy, they really put it in a way that we can all understand. They are really amazing, really amazing. So anyway, let's see, what else here? Yeah. In fact, I'll put that up. Hidden True Crime did a great video about Richard Allen, and I'll put that link in the description as well. It's something everybody should watch. It really does answer a lot of questions. And I heard something today from True Crime Garage. It's a very popular podcast on Spotify that supposedly Richard Allen was interrupted, and that's why one girl had no clothes and the other was dressed. He was interrupted. He saw a van pulling into a driveway. Again, I don't know because I don't know the area. And he got scared and took off. So I don't know. Yeah, Mel Stiller, exactly. Odinism is completely unrelated to satanic rituals, exactly. And we had an Odinism expert on here earlier this year. And we're going to try and get her back here soon to talk about this. So anyway, there's just so much going on here. But yes, we will be covering it as much as we can with the help of Lawyer Lee and Hidden True Crime. Thank goodness those two ladies are going to be there, because mainstream media, especially like the news channels, they can't, do an hour video about what happened in court that day. They can do 2 or 3 minutes. So we have to rely on this. And again, it's so unnecessary in this day and age, but hey, it is what it is, right? Anyway, Mel Stiller, I have doubts about this case. I go back and forth. And again, we don't know what the prosecution has. We know one of the big pieces of evidence is that bullet that was found between the girls at the crime scene. And it wasn't fired, but it was put into a pistol, and it was popped out, and the striations match a gun that Richard Allen owns. And it also apparently matched bullets that Richard Allen owned that had a box at his house. So we'll see. Now, if that's the biggest piece of evidence they have, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Don't know. So anyway, that's it, everybody. It is Moonlight View. It's very twisty. And I do want to thank our wonderful mods. They're here tonight, and they're here every single night. And that would be Moonlight View. Thanks, darling. Four Sons Mom, also Alicia Gallegos, and Yuta. Thank you, ladies. And I hope Insightful One will be here tomorrow night. You know we love you, Insightful One. Okay, everybody, you have a wonderful night, and we'll be here tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern. I promise I'll have my head on straight tomorrow. Again, it's COVID brain. What can I say? Tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern on Websleuths YouTube Live. We'll see you. Bye-bye.